I don't have a mic.
They are not.
Yep, got it. It is 4:32 on Thursday, September 27th, and I call this meeting of the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call. Blaine Johnston's here. Don Cronk.
Here.
Josh Everts is not here. J.C. Jones.
Here.
Courtney McBride.
Here.
Ed Landis, not here. Councilwoman Ann Little Roberts, not here. Adoption of the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Cronk for adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of August 23 minutes.
Mr. President, there was one change on page 2 of your minutes, the spelling of proclamation. I just wanted to call that out. I fixed it on the hard copy, but with that, I'm not aware of any other changes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Jones.
with that change being on record, I move we approve the amended minutes.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the amended minutes by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Cronk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the monthly financial statement.
I have a question. I don't find any time that they put our phone, are we just lumped in the whole phone system and not charged separately? Is that the way it's done?
Mr. President, members of the commission, you actually haven't been charged for phones for probably 10 years.
Well, I knew we hadn't, but I knew there
Oh.
never seemed to be any resolution for it for anywhere, and I.
Yeah,
this is-
you're all part of the same system of the entire building, so there's no charge.
You have to tell me things once in a while.
So all the long distance calls you want, make. Oh, that was on the record, sorry.
Mr. President, before you is the financial statement current through the end of August. However, there were 2 other expenses I wanted to make you aware of. First of all, the Children's Museum contribution. And then also, I told you guys, I think at one point, that we had that one map that Richard had donated. We talked about possibly framing it, and you guys had so much in your budget, we decided to frame it. So that was $450 to frame. And then CJ told me we will find a place to hang it.
Okay.
So if you have a suggestion, it's great. So actually, your only August expense is the photos of the 985 McMillan barn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Jones.
I move we approve the financial statement, including the 2 additions that Ms. Blackstone spoke about.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Cronk to approve the monthly financials with the additional expenditures presented by Ms. Blackstone. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries, thank you. Historical Society and History Center update.
Gosh, I think Hillary's got it so you can all read it.
Yeah, but we want to hear your voice.
Oh. Well, I'll have to get close then.
Right.
We've not been really busy, but the chronological property owners list for the original town plat has been completed, and copies were given to City Council, Meridian Downtown Merchants Association attorney, the Historical Society, and the Historic Preservation Commission. Since then, perhaps as a result of this report, we've had 2 inquiries about my property. One has been followed upon with the current owner, and the other owner still has to come in to talk about his property. So maybe it's stirred up a little bit of interest somewhere. We'll see. The atlas is being worked on, isn't it, Hillary?
Yes.
There are some suggestions that have been made that I haven't heard have been made, but it's still in the arrangement and so forth stages. It will begin with the original surveyor's map and feature the Meridian area, for even though it was a village, it was the local farming community that helped the village to grow and not fade away. David and Betsy Hansen, both retired West Ada teachers, have stepped in to fill the Thursday afternoon open office hours. They're fairly new Historical Society members, but Betsy volunteered at Historical Genealogical Society in Iowa several years ago, and I must have deleted that when they came in for their first day, she found some things on her family in our files that she didn't know. So they're getting acquainted with what's in the files. And I think they'll be very, very valuable additions anyway. Gretchen, the Meridian Library District Director, stopped by yesterday to introduce Nate, the new librarian at the Silverstone branch. He came to Meridian from Bend, Oregon. He has experience with archives and also is a big history buff. We talked about the depth of our collection and went for a show and tell in the archive storage room later. Later, Gretchen said he came up with several ideas, and they will get back with me one of these days or soon, after we get this Silverstone. No, the Hillsdale Tiny Library opened on Monday. Then things will settle down a bit in their lives, maybe for a bit.
Yeah, come on over, we'll have tiny cookies.
I didn't hear that.
Tiny cookies.
Oh, tiny cookies for a tiny library. Well, it's for preschoolers, and it is a tiny library, but they're going to have story hours and things in part of the building that has been designated by St. Luke's. So again, you see the cooperation beginning to go on between all of the different entities out there in my backyard. Okay, Robbie and Paula are on their annual anniversary cruise, but with it came Dave and Betsy filling in on Thursday and very probably taking an active role for the future right now. We're in better shape with volunteers than we've been for some time. When asked if they had fun checking out the center materials, Betsy said she'd found several things on her family that she didn't have before. Dan Basiloni and I, as well as JC, have discussed kids' things for the museum. We do not have many items that would work and use them ourselves, but yesterday Dan mentioned copies of photos, and I believe we can help out that way, like the 4th of July parade from 1909, with the 3 little girls with their parasol watching the parade. And I think we have some other children's pictures in the file that I haven't thought of. I haven't gone through it yet. So, any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
So we still are doing tours, or they're coming through, and they're the new tour director. I haven't been here on a tour day, but they tell me she's a little more in charge than some of the others have been. So maybe they'll go home and have seen something.
Good.
Thanks, Lila.
Thank you, Lila.
Thank you.
I did want to mention on that note, we have been getting more downloads on the walking tour app also, and I'm thinking that it's a result of the kids going on the tour and then taking the brochures home, so they are getting something out of it. It's going home to their families also. Yeah.
Do you have a count on the download apps downloads?
I could
Just curious.
don't have a count in my head, no.
Okay.
It's like 130 something or 150 something.
Perfect.
It's good.
Okay, new business. Welcome, Courtney. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I am a sophomore at Meridian High School, and I am the Meridian High Ambassador for the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. And I also am an FCCLA, and I'm also working on the newspaper at Meridian High, so I'm really busy.
Good. Well, welcome to our fun group. We're a little bit crazy at times.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
Mr. Crazy is not here. You'll get to know Mr. Crazy. So, with that, welcome.
Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you.
Commission size discussion.
This was something that had come up a couple of times in the past, and I just keep forgetting to put on the agenda, so I don't know if didn't brief Blaine on this before or not, but over the past few years, staff or commissioners have asked me questions about the future of HPC as a commission. Is it something, mainly the question has been asked, do you guys need more commissioners? Because you can have, by the bylaws, up to 9. So is that something that you, just throwing it out there for you to consider. If you'd like to seek new members, we can always get your guys' input, and then I can follow up with the mayor and city clerk and see what their thoughts are as well.
My thoughts at this time, I think we've got a good size. And I think we work well together. With that said, I'll take discussions from anybody else.
Mr. President?
Ms. Jones.
Thanks. I agree. I like our group, the size it is. That being said, if we added additional people who were as engaged as our team is now with maybe some additional strengths, we could expand in that way. I wouldn't want to fill it just to have extra bodies. We've had commissions at the city in the past that aren't engaged and really just do the meetings and nothing in between the meetings, and I wouldn't want to add to it just because of that. It doesn't seem to serve any value. So if we had somebody that came to us who was a photographer and wanted to donate their services as, you know, being a part of the commission, I would go, well, yeah, let's look at that. Does that make sense? I think that there should be some value added. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I like the size it is too, and we do work well together. But yeah, if there's something that comes up, you know, we need someone, then sure.
To know. I just wanted your guys' insight on that. Thank
Okay. 6C, Historic Preservation Month 2019. Do we know yet what the theme is going to be?
I do not know the theme. I don't know if anyone else was made aware of the theme.
The state has a new person in charge.
That's what I learned, yeah. But to the best of my knowledge, they're still going to continue to offer at least recognize Historic Preservation Month events. I just don't know how they're going to pursue that. But this was something you guys talked about, you know, shortly after your last Historic Preservation Month, which is in May, by the way, just so you know. And you had asked me to put it on the September agenda. So I'm really just bringing it back up because you had had a lot of ideas and thoughts after your last celebration. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to go over some of those or start planning in any way. I know there's limitations because we don't know the theme. I think one of the things that maybe Don or Josh said or somebody was that Zamzows could be its own tour, that we could just coordinate with them sometime during the month and then help promote a tour with them, and that could be its own independent thing. And we could do the same thing with Main Street School probably as well.
I agree. I think if we could talk to Zamzows and designate a day or a couple that they would be willing to do tours by themselves, the same with Pine Street School. That way we're not trying to take that on. And then depending on what the theme is for Preservation Month, we'll just act accordingly if it fits what we would like to do. We don't necessarily have to follow that theme to the letter, but if there's something that we would like to promote within the city, then we can go forward that way. Okay.
Can we bring this back though, like I think they'll release the theme in December or January. So let's bring it back because I like the idea of a Zamzows tour, sorry. I think that's a super fun way to go, and we tend to only do one main event, and that would get a lot of traction. The other one that always pops up is the Eggers Mint Farm, only because it's fun and he provides a really cool experience. It's just longer. Like the Eggers tour takes a bit, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like it's like an hour thing. Like it's a.
At the Mint Farm?
Yeah.
It's no more than an hour.
Okay. So that would be maybe another option as a. Maybe we do.
I remember.
Other than Mr. Eggers, I knew talked about retiring a year or two ago, but I know he's still doing it. So I don't know. I know he's always interested in educating people on agriculture. I just don't know if how much longer he will be available to do that.
I've never been there, so where is it at?
It's on Black Cat. I'm sure it has an address, but basically some Black Cat as you head south on Black Cat, across the freeway, across the overpass. As you get to the top of the hill, it's literally on the right.
Okay.
You can smell it as you're coming up.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, it has a huge barn, or a huge out structure there that has the stills that do all the mint oils, where they create the mint oil.
Okay. So it doesn't take long for down here, if we wanted to coordinate something, drive there, do a tour, and
And I think it can be as long or as short as you'd like.
Okay. That's a
Best time to
possibility.
go is the summer, though, because they do all the mint distilling in August. Mm-hmm. And they do it 24 hours a day in August. So when I've been out there, it's usually been in May, June. So it's actively growing. And of course, they talk about it, discuss it, they show how the process works. And then I know in the past, Mr. Eggers has invited people to say, just stop by in August. We literally are there 24 hours a day running the stills.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that note, you guys aren't limited to only Historic Preservation Month. If you did want to coordinate with the Eggers and offer something like that in August, I guess you could do that.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. President, on another note, I actually just looked it up on the Idaho State Historical Society, and they do have a theme supposedly picked out, and it's triumph and tragedy in history.
What?
Can one person's triumph be another's tragedy?
I thought you said tramp.
That's what I thought. Triumph.
Can one person's tragedy be another person's triumph?
Can the same person or group suffer from tragedy and triumph at the same time?
Oh.
How does one ultimately triumph over tragedy? Can triumph lead to tragedy? On and on.
Theological. Okay.
The only thing I can think of would be the creamery stores that started in 1929 and kept the community afloat with its pittance of checks for milk and cream during the Depression.
Make a quick note.
Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of at the moment. That we'd have a lot of display stuff that we might be able to pull together. Because the creamery burned before it opened.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they have some other tools. A theme book. Topic ideas, Idaho topics. So we'd have to find something specific like that to Meridian, but
Well, we could always go to the student bird trial, because they can use Meridian heavily for their jury people. But they'd run around through the community earlier and found out whether they were fur on a cannon, which wouldn't get away with today.
maybe we bring this back though in, like JC suggested, December, and then just have a longer conversation about it.
Yep. Mrs. Blackstone, could you send us all the link to that? Thank you. Okay, we will go on to old business, logo discussion,
Say it's tabled.
tabled. I thought Commissioner Everts was working on that. So
He's been a bit busy.
he's been busy. We'll table it again, and before our next meeting, we just send him a quick email as a reminder.
He was on top of it
Yeah.
between the last meeting and this. I just think he's not present to present whatever
Yep.
he's got.
So we'll get that next month. Digital scans of historical items. My bad on this one, because Josh and Don and I were supposed to get together and do that. I had it on my calendar as HPC on a Thursday afternoon. I'm going, I don't do HPC on a Thursday afternoon. So,
And I think you probably need to include Nate from the library,
okay,
because he's apparently done some of it, he's worked with his
Okay.
His first question was, is the first file ever been digitized? And I thought,
And I know that after you and I and Josh went down and looked at it, Josh and I were just going to go through and just do an inventory of what's in each drawer, topic,
big file.
yes, and at least start an inventory of what's there.
Well, and like I say, if somebody will plug into those old computers, they may find it.
And yeah,
So I don't know. But he indicated that he's very historically oriented, has done quite a bit of archives type work, and so he would be good, reliable backup.
okay.
So I think we need to, if we get into the scanning situation, we need to coordinate with the library because they can put some of it on their website. And there's so many categories of it that who knows where.
Right.
But I just don't want to see it ever get out of Meridian's control.
No, and that's, yeah, right now we want to make sure, get an inventory, see what's there. I know there's pictures of the Speedway. There's all sorts of pictures that we came across that afternoon when we were down there. So we want to just, first step is just get an inventory of what we have before we start scanning stuff and digitizing stuff.
And I gave you a copy of the inventory that Van did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Dawn, you just did that last year, is that correct?
Oh, it's been
Or
more
t-
than a year
oh,
ago.
no, okay.
Probably, what, 2 years ago we went through there?
I think so.
Yeah.
And he keeps coming in and rearranging the books because we put them where we want them and he puts them back where he wants them. See?
Yeah, he's coming to see you again.
Oh dear.
I just talked to him today.
Our categories don't quite match his categorization.
Well, you need to come up with an agreement so you're both happy with that.
Well, unfortunately, the state's never come up with a solution either, so it's not just us, it's continual between historians and librarians.
Okay. Item C, priority properties for contracted photography services.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I have reached out to the majority of the properties with 2 exceptions. I reached out to them via letter, and I didn't reach out to Cynthia Clapper because I have her phone number, and it'd be much easier just to call her and coordinate a time for our photographers to go by. But those photographer agreements will be approved on next Tuesday's city council meeting, so I didn't want to call her and not know when they'd be available. And then I also didn't contact, or at least I don't remember, sending a letter to Mr. Eggers for, because I had in my mind that, again, we have his direct phone number and we can call him and coordinate more easily. But then I also wasn't sure if his property might have offered a larger scope, like what Brandon Hull presented. So if that was something that you would want to consider. Or we could still send someone out. I mean, Gregory's charging us $50 per site, basically. So we could still send him out and then later on decide to do something larger with Brandon if we wanted to.
I like the idea of Brandon there, because he could get the seasons photographed as the mint's growing, as it's being harvested, as it's being processed,
That's cool.
and then put that on there, so. As a suggestion.
Would you like me to still contact Mr. Eggers about like still shots? Or should we just hold off on that and do Brandon?
Do Brandon, that would be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be,
Super cool.
because he can even get started now, even though they're probably done processing. He can just get the distillery or whatever it's called empty, and then once they harvest and planning and all that.
Yeah,
Did-
that'd be super
Did
cool.
you say you didn't have contacts for Mr. Eggers?
I have his phone number. I didn't send him a letter because
Oh.
I have his phone number.
Got it.
somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have it too, so I didn't- if you didn't have it, so.
Or maybe I knew you had it.
If you want to look into farm things, the Department of Agriculture in Boise has a lot of dairying pictures. They have a lot of pictures, and you'd have to go in and find somebody who would sort out the Meridian ones probably. But
Okay,
because I've been there and done that. And they were on a disc that went to Walt. It got lost in the shuffle.
do they have stuff that's digitized that we can get, or is it all,
I can't tell.
okay.
A phone call would find out. I haven't been out snooping lately.
Okay, sorry. Back to that, I had one property, or I've had 3 other properties call and say it's okay in one way or another. I had one property, though, that did ask for either a volunteer or myself to be there as well, because they didn't specify that they had to have that, but it sounded like that was what they wanted. And you have to get their properties lined with a electrical fence, so they have to come out there and turn off the fence and then have the photographer out there taking pictures, and that way one of us can talk to them about what your project is and what your plans are for these types of photos. Kind of moving on to C2, I had some people also call me and tell me that, so there was that one other house off of Marks Drive that Josh said was, they were doing landscaping work and it looked like they were doing some interior work. And that lady called and said that it's totally torn up. They're totally renovating it. They might be renovating it to still look like a house from the 50s, but it's going to be more or less totally new. So she offered to send us pictures from that. They had thought about putting it on the market, so they took pictures with a realtor beforehand. So she offered to send us those pictures as a reference. And then another property owner had called and said he had a fire out at his property a month or so ago, and that he also has older pictures that he would donate. But we didn't discuss that. And then also we don't really have currently a collections policy to address those donations or to define the use of those donations. I just wanted to bring that up because they're very kind offers. I have those people's phone numbers. We can call them. I figured we should have something in place before I just said, yeah, drop them off.
Mr. President,
Ms. Jones?
question for Mr. Neri. If they donate the photos to like the commission, the clerk would have to maintain it as part of a record, right?
That is correct.
So then it's subject to record request laws and the whole thing.
Yes.
We would be doing it specifically for, oh man, that could muddy things up for you guys with all of
But if they donate to,
if they donate to the society,
Donated to the society, we wouldn't be under.
we can get away from, that
Correct.
would be what we should do.
the other question is, would you be willing to take on some additional photographs?
The drawer isn't full. It's getting that way. But
It's getting there. I can't imagine there's going to be a whole lot of photos right now that we're talking about. And they're probably not big photos. They're probably 8 by 10 or something like that.
That sounds like a good idea, though.
those were 8 by 10s.
What's that?
Those old aerial photos were all 8 by 10s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I should probably donate the ones from the Hill place.
Okay, so that could be a good solution for that then. Lila, I'll just talk to you and figure out how you want me to do that.
Fine minds think alike, because that was my thought.
Okay.
Then I'm sorry, real fast. If they do that, let's get a thank you letter over to them. And I can coordinate that with you, Hillary. You don't have to do that.
Do we, Bill, do we have to have permissions from whoever took those photos that we could use them however we're going to end up using these? Or how do we manage that?
So if I understand, we have folks that want to donate photographs that we're suggesting they donate to the society. And the city might use them on like the city Facebook page. Is that what you're talking about?
Or other marketing materials.
Then
Or
they
other-
just credit the Historical Society.
Yeah, I mean, I think however the Historical Society takes them in, you know, my guess is they would want them to sign something saying, I have permission to give these to you and I have permission to let you use them in some other form.
I'm donating this for your use with no restrictions.
Yeah, something like that. And then we can take them from the Historical Society and use them that way.
Is there anyone interested in, I can't remember, of course, now I can't remember the property that, it is, I think it's 3090, that Locust Grove property, Verado West, that has the electrical fence. Does anybody, can I work with that property manager and the photographer and then find out the times and then ask you guys if one of you would be able to cover?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
And Mr. President, Hillary, I live like, I don't know, 2.5 minutes from there, so I'm right down the street, if that's maybe easier.
Cool. Email you first then.
That's the one at Ustick and Locust Grove.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah. Put in townhomes, and we talked about maybe doing some, asking them to put some sort of signage or plaque or something like that in their community green space. We'll probably have to work with the
Yes,
developer.
I had not talked to the developer yet.
Yeah, so we'll have to work with them in the future anyways, so it's probably worth making a contact.
And then we had just, you had asked me to continue item C3, property photo collection and use discussion.
Mr. President,
Ms. Jones.
Hillary, I think our goal with this is we were talking about, once we have all of these photos that we're taking, what are we gonna do with them? It still comes down to, we have to catalog them in some capacity. Do we wanna use them for some sort of outreach materials or marketing materials? We talked at one point maybe doing something that generates some income of some kind, whether we don't, we could receive that and donate to the society or use it in the community in some way. And I think that's why we wanted to continue this, just to start having those conversations of what are we gonna do if we collect photos and they're of the quality that we've seen. Theoretically, it would make more sense to do something with them than for them just to sit.
And collect dust.
Yeah. And obviously, we can get them on social media, and that's not hard, but maybe we talk about doing a Barnes of Meridian calendar for Historic Preservation Month or something like that. It'd just be nice to display them in a way that the public could see them.
It's kind of a tragedy and triumph, actually.
It would be.
Yeah, it would.
You know?
Not a bad-
And I can talk to Nate too and see what ideas he might have too,
That'd be
Perfect.
awesome.
so.
Be good. Yeah,
I like the Barnes idea.
could be kind of fun. We have some pretty ones.
Mm-hmm.
We only need 12, so it's not, getting 12 nice barn photos isn't gonna be super overwhelming between now and, March. Even if we had the same barn photographed in different weather, there's, or different light, I think that there's options there. I'm sure we could talk to Greg at Modern Printers about putting something together and doing a little fundraiser.
Really like that idea.
So, where do we go from there? We need some sort of, do we need to have a policy on what we're gonna do with them, or can we just collect them and do what we want to with them?
I don't believe you need a policy.
Okay, so as we get them then, Hillary, you'll keep bringing them in, right? Is there any way to make like a Dropbox file of all of the ones that we have that you could share so we could look at them? And I don't mind taking that on as a project and we can work on that.
If they're a digital file.
Yeah.
I think you might want to talk to Don Smith, not Don Smith. I'll think about it. Used to be head of the Arts Commission.
Oh,
Leslie Malden?
no, you're talking about the artist. Is it Terry? Oh, remind me, his picture, we used to hang in the clerk's office.
Dwight Williams?
Minister before.
Oh, before there. Oh. I don't remember right now either.
He's a watercolorist.
Talking about Dwight Williams?
Dwight?
Yes, Dwight Williams.
Yeah, okay.
Check with Dwight because he's the one that's got good pictures of ours. Because there might be, I don't know if he's got any in the area or not.
Starting Friday, Dwight will have his 55 plus winters and counting or something painting hanging up in the gallery with a bunch of barns. I don't know if they're Meridian specific, but check out the gallery on Friday. that's another thing too. Also, we hadn't actually talked about those arts partnerships. If you guys wanted to do additional content and reach out to artists or work with the Arts Commission you could maybe even do like a art exhibit in the gallery and have some watercolor and some printed photographs if you wanted to go there, and then sell those as a fundraiser for the Historical Society.
I'm thinking if we have decent or good photos, along with some watercolors, do an exhibit for Preservation Month.
That could be fun. Or I even thought like a paint and sip, but we don't need to call it that. We could do something non-alcoholic, but maybe like Deja Brew we could have some actual artist, maybe Dwight, maybe could come in and teach. I mean, I've seen people take really complicated paintings, right, and they pare them down into like a 2-hour session, and people would potentially pay to participate in that. I think definitely a partnership with the Arts Commission for May makes sense. When's the Arts doesn't have like an annual arts month, right? Like what do we do the sidewalk chart, the downtown art festival thing, but that's in
September.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
Art Week.
Art Week, okay.
I will tell you right now, though, the month of May is taken in the gallery by the West Ada School District. They're going to have their students show their art up
So
there.
that's okay. We could still look at maybe there's still other partnerships there.
Or another
Yeah.
month. Again, like you guys
Different
aren't
month.
restricted to doing all of your stuff in one month.
Yeah. We did partner with the arts year before last, maybe, because the theme of Art Week was history, and so all of the kids that came down and did sidewalk chart, they all did historic pictures on the sidewalk, and so we participated in that. So maybe we put that on an agenda for April next year. We can find out if maybe the Arts Commission would let us piggyback with them again and do some sort of gallery something. Be kind of fun.
Yep.
I'll make a note to put that on the agenda.
Thanks, Hillary.
What month did you say you want to talk about that?
Probably April. April, May, June, July, August, September. 6 months. Yeah, April's probably good. Just with this group only meeting once a month, you need lots of time, lots of lead time.
Good.
Did we get a quote?
Are you ready for the next item?
Yes.
Okay. So Blaine had told me to talk about the Main and Broadway intersection and Pine Street School. And then we gave Brandon a few ideas of what we would think would be good there. But I told Brandon, like, you're the professional, you build these tours. What do you think would make the most sense? Like, include anything additional if you think it would make sense. So I had said up to 5 augmented POIs, are those points of interest. And so for one of them, it looks like he went up to 10 augmented points of interest. And I thought, I didn't want to dig into it, but I thought he might be able to break this out, like, more itemized, but I just don't know if that's really possible for him to do. For those 2 projects, it's $2,500 for everything he has lined out there. And then he would also host the tour for us on whole film, so we wouldn't have any expense for hosting. And it would take approximately 30 days to deliver. What else did he say? Yeah, it's possible to shoot the same locations again and again to see the changes of each site.
Mr. President?
Ms. Jones.
Hillary, will you pull up our FY19 budget? Or even just the 18 is fine, because I know it's the same, so I can just look at that for a second.
It's slightly lower. I think it's 14. New one is 14.
Okay.
So your FY18 budget was 162504. Do you want me to zoom in on your
No, that's
amounts?
perfect. I'm just thinking because I would like to do something with him so we can see what it looks like. His tour was beautiful, other than it's hard for me to picture what his Mount Vernon tour looks like in downtown Meridian. You know what I mean? So I want to do something with him. And especially this idea with the Eggers farm, I think would be super cool. So this almost seems like a way to kind of get our toes in the water without having to commit to something larger and see what that really looks like when we're talking Meridian history and what Meridian has to offer, and then maybe look at something longer or something like the Eggers farm. That's going to be kind of a year's catalog of work, really. And I don't know, I mean, if it breaks down similar to what we have here, I don't know how much more historical district branding we're gonna do. So there might be, it seems like this would be a worthwhile way to spend the money, and I would totally support a motion or make a motion to
think so,
enter into
too.
a not to exceed.
His stuff is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let me, before we keep going into it, let me just show for Courtney so she can see. Also, I didn't get to tell you guys, but he had sent me a link also. He can include film or video links now too, so we could like link to Lila's videos on the walking tour and that kind of thing.
Nice.
We have farm directory, or farm, what do I want to call it? Diary from the 40s. That goes day by day, and it tells you what the temperature was and which cow got bred and how many calves they had, what he did. Day after day after day after day, and those are downstairs in the room. They were done by
fun.
Peter Lund.
Can you zero in on something so she can
fun.
see what?
I was looking for a point of interest, but I didn't see one on that last page.
There's one at Gettysburg, I think, in that tour.
You said Gettysburg?
Yeah, I was thinking that there was, I think that was one of the ones he showed this one in Antietam, I thought.
That's cool. So this is like the 360 shot that he's talking about for Main and Broadway. Then I think I have it hidden. Remember how?
We have the
I think I have it.
ILOF hall with the ILOF members in front of it, Main and Broadway. Probably 1915. I don't think you've seen it, J.C.
I don't think I have. Well, I don't think I have.
I don't know how I have it hidden, but I somehow have.
So we'd have a long before picture.
That could be fun, and if he can integrate past and present images, it could be.
Right, or even in, I wish I could pull one up, and I don't know why I can't. Even in those points of interest, if you click it and then it pulls up that picture, that's still cool, even if it's not exactly lined up in the.
What's really neat is that, this is his hometown and he's really excited about doing it too. So that's neat.
Where did he? I have no idea, you guys, how I messed up viewing this, because I think they all had points of interest.
Yeah, they did.
Did. What was that one he was showing us that you could like zoom in and see the fox or something? Where was he? Was that a tourism one? Somewhere in Idaho, I thought.
Riggins.
Yeah. There you go.
Riggins.
Well, there was, Riggins was one he was showing us.
Oh, that was Aspen.
Aspen. There you go. Oh, there you go. There's our little fox.
Cute. Didn't he say? Anyway, so the Pine Street School would look something, I would assume, kind of similar to this, but with those points of interest listed.
And like with the quality that you could zoom in and almost read some of what's like the signage, really look at it in detail.
I'm just gonna try to go to his. and try to start over. Oh, nice. Let's see. This is nice too, so we could credit like the Historical Society for all the photos. Okay, here we go. These are the points of interest. Maybe. Might be the computer too.
It looks like you've got some sort of pop-up blocker that keeps coming on.
Yeah.
I don't know how to manage that.
I don't either.
Regardless, you guys know the options.
Yep. So the 2,500 was for both Main and Broadway and Pine Street School.
And really, it looks like there's quite a bit of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And getting everything set up on the website. That's kind of why I was hoping it would be more itemized, because after he gets it set up and is hosting it, there will be less cost there because it's less of his time that he's already generated the site. And this is something that, like he said, you could scale. So if you guys want to do one additional thing each year, if that's all your budget allowed, you could just do one, or you could choose to skip a year.
Is the Pine School the school by Meridian Elementary? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The awesome thing about doing that one is it's one room. So if you do a 360-degree, I mean, other than that, just that little tiny kind of vestibule in the front, like you really would get the whole building.
Lila. Yes. Are there photographs of Pine Street School in its original location?
Pine Street School originally was an overflow building at the high school.
Okay.
There were two of them. One of them is a house here in town, and Doug Rutan can tell you where that one is. I don't remember. And the Pine Street School was the other one. And they were moved from the high school location probably in the 30s when they were getting ready to build the gymnasium part. And that's about what I can tell you about it.
Okay. So maybe when we go through those materials downstairs, we might find some.
Yeah.
But,
Sorority might
but,
have some too.
yeah, but with that, if he takes the pictures, if we can find some old photographs of it.
But he can just put them in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be neat.
Be very cool.
so,
We have some school photographs.
Mhm.
And there are slides, I think, downstairs in the storage with Doug's stuff
okay.
that he'd used for his doctoral thesis, because all of that's downstairs. I don't think I showed you where that was.
You told me about it, but you didn't show me what was that.
Okay, it's across from the newspapers, and it takes up a lot of space.
That took the super secret handshake, and you weren't willing to give that out to me.
We're real selective with that. But there's just so much down there that you just don't remember it all when you get there.
Right.
Mr. President,
Ms. Jones.
unless there's more discussion, I would make a motion to approve a not to exceed of $2,500 to whole film for the panoramic, I don't know, multimedia presentations of Broadway and Main and Pine Street School.
Per his quote.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Cronk to approve expenditure of not to exceed $2,500 to Hull Film for photography services for Main and Broadway intersection, Pine Street School, per his quote. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Mr. President, with regard to the Eggers conversation, would you like me to ask Brandon for a quote for that type of project as well, just so you guys can kind of start thinking about it? Even though it's going to take him 30 days, he says, to complete this.
Yes.
It might be nice to know how much it
But if he can go take a look at it, he can at least then say, okay, this is what it would take, and then how much to do a picture in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, or during their harvest time.
Theoretically, that's a good one that we could even split between 2 budget years because of the timeline. there.
Exactly.
Kinda nice.
'Cause even if he started like, say, in August, that would, that would be great.
Yes, if you want to reach out to him, and perfect.
I mean, I will let you know if he needs anything further or has any other questions about those 2 sites that you guys just approved.
Yeah, and he can give him my contact information, and
Okay. Great.
all right. Current applications.
We didn't have any current applications relevant to HPC this month, but 2 just came through one on Tuesday afternoon and one on Wednesday that Wayne's going to drive by and check on. And we'll have them on the next agenda.
Yep. Children's Museum of Idaho. Miss Jones, you're up.
Mr. President, Commissioners, am I on? I am. Children's Museum, we're moving forward. Thank you again for your support of the project. The log cabin is built, so, and I don't know why my brain didn't think about bringing a photo, but it didn't, so I'll bring one next time. But if you go over to the site, it's outside, and it's fully fenced, but you can actually go over there and see it. We have some items inside, including an actual rocking horse that was our executive director's grandfather's when he was a child. So it's like from the 20s, I think. And we're going to put up some photos in partnership with the Historical Society in that specifically for Meridian, with some learning opportunities for the children to be able to go in and kind of view them and then try to date them and do some activities that way. So go by and check that out. We are getting ready to open, actually. We'll have several soft openings in November for our sponsors and special invited guests. Oh, look, there you go. Thank you, Hillary.
Oh, cute.
And so the only thing that's going to change with that, it's going to have a different chair in the front, and we have to install a ramp for ADA staff. But the ADA ramp will get put in, and then a little fence around the front. There's a large enough step between the ground and that porch area that we want to put up a fence so that little tiny toddlers just don't toddle right off. So that will change. And actually what you see there in that photo, it's kind of a cool, looks like that window frame there. That's where we're going to put pictures. So there'll be frames like that will kind of just add to the aesthetic look inside that building. So go in or go by and check that out. And then, like I said, we'll have some openings in November that I'll make sure that you guys know about so you can come and participate in that. And then our chamber ribbon cutting is December 1st at 1 p.m. And you're invited to that as well. So we'll make sure, obviously, we'll get formal invitations out, but as a sponsor or supporter, you're invited to all of that. So I'll make sure that you know what's going on. And memberships are still on sale online, so you can hop in. Prices will go up a little bit when we're opening, so if you're thinking of getting a membership, now is going to be more affordable than it will be, although still very affordable. Our day rate is $8, and that's for both children and adults. So if your kid is 2 and you're taking them in as the parent, it's $16, and that gives you all day. And you get return as well. So if you have to leave to take your kiddo to lunch or a nap or whatever, you can come back in the afternoon with a hand stamp and not have to pay again. So it really is for the full day. So we're moving along, and continue to appreciate all of your support.
Looks,
Oh, that's the rocket.
Oh, nice.
Or it will be the rocket. Yeah, so this Sector 17 is doing 3 paintings like that in the museum. The theme right now of all of the exhibits is kind of past to present, and so that particular one is really cool with the the train, and then in the background there's that rocket, and it ties together what will be our train exhibit and the train platform, and then right as you step off the train platform, you're by the spaceship. So it's kind of a fun way, and we'll have 2 others up like that. They're also helping us with the inside of our cave, so that the cave, we're putting rocks and things actually in it, but so that the painting that goes along and on the walls around the cave area is aesthetically pleasing as well.
Looks fantastic.
It's gonna be fun.
Anything else?
Yes, sorry. Thursday, October 25th is trunk or treat.
Oh my goodness gracious.
And I think we don't want to do that. We'll never get out of the building. So maybe we need to move that meeting.
Same with November as well. That's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, look and see what days are available that week
In Chambers.
in Chambers. And not necessarily in Chambers, if we could just, even in a conference room if we need to.
We've done that before.
Yeah.
Now, though, the city's marketing that all commission meetings are streamed. It would be a special meeting, so we're technically outside of that, but I'll see what I can do. I'll send out a doodle poll for you guys. Is that okay? Have those worked okay in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is a doodle poll?
Oh, sorry. A doodle poll. It's an online poll, so you can check all the times that you're available. That way we can hopefully find a time that all of you guys are available.
The email that you sent me on the Preservation Idaho, because it had a dual pool.
Okay. I have 100 doodle poll.
Oh.
It's really not they're not hard to find. I'll just change my screen. Okay, so this is an example of a doodle poll. You guys fill out stuff on the left-hand side, and then all of the date and time options are presented across. So say that I wanted to take this poll, put in my name. You can click whatever days work for you. If something is kind of a challenge, if you just click it again, that means if need be. That means like it's not my favorite, but I could make it work. And if you don't click it, then I assume you can't make it.
Will you send me the link to that?
Yeah, I'll make one for you guys for these 2 meetings for October and November. Do you want me to try to keep it in the same week, or does the... Quick question then. How early are you willing to start, and how late are you willing to start?
Doesn't matter to me.
We don't want to start any time before, what, probably 3:34?
Yeah, probably 3:30, because I get out of school at 2:42.
I'd prefer not to start any later than 7. But if we had to, I would be flexible.
I don't want to
I'm
start.
super happy
after
about it.
7. Let's say 6 is the latest we'll
Yes,
start.
do 6 is the latest.
While we're having this conversation, I think Christmas falls on a Tuesday.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, while we're doing this, we shouldn't be affected on the 27th. Other than it's Christmas week. Do we need to move that one as well while we're doing this, or is everybody good with that one?
Let's leave it because
I like it.
sometimes weather gets us anyway.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Now you said that out loud, it's gonna happen.
Thanks, Liz.
I'm hoping.
I
I'm
love
hoping.
snow too.
Okay.
All right.
This is throwing me off now. Okay. will get that sent out to you. I'll get the 2019 theme sent out in that same email.
Okay.
Anything else I owe you guys for just quick follow-up? I don't think so. Dwayne and Dawn, will you guys coordinate for photos? And then JC, I'll email you about Verado.
And then a Dropbox potentially with the pictures we're getting, if that's okay. And that's not a rush, Hillary, don't stress.
I can do that.
And I'll get with Commissioner Everts so we can get back down to the vault, Lila's vault, and start inventorying what we have.
And if Hillary will open the door I will show you that picture that we have of Broadway in Maine.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to have a picture from then and now.
A couple of photos of that. One of them is a street scene that shows both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But this early one is really an eye-opener.
Be very cool. Awesome. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Mr. President, I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Cronk to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, I like your new nameplate, Hillary.
It's paper, like Courtney's.
That's awesome.